Hello, welcome to another episode of Everyday Amazing. I am your host, Guy Alton, and tonight we're going to be talking about tech. You don't want to go anywhere. As always, amazing people, amazing episode. Stay tuned.
Everyday Amazing with Sky Alton. Everyday Amazing. Everyday Amazing with Sky Alton. Everyday Amazing. Everyday Amazing with Sky Alton.
Welcome back to the show. As always, I am striving to bring you guys some of the most amazing people, not just from SAC, but from all over California, all over the U.S., anywhere. And tonight is no different. I have Miss Chynna Morgan. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to have you on the show because someone referred you to me and they told me about your company. I was like, you know what? I gotta have this girl on the show. I think she's doing great things. I think the audience is gonna love her. But before we talk about your tech company, I just want to talk about a little bit about you and how you got into tech in the first place.
Okay, so it wasn't a straight line to tech. I didn't think I would be in tech. I was actually getting my master's in healthcare management.
Wow.
Completely different than what I'm doing now. And I was 3 classes away from finishing my master's when I started my first tech company. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, I was like, people don't really talk on the phone anymore. All they do is text.
Right.
But when we're texting, we're losing that tone of like, what are you texting me? Like, are you happy right now? Are you sad? Right? So the idea I had was, what if we're able to add our voice to GIFs, our music to GIFs to communicate without having to talk on the phone? So I dropped my master's and I just fully went and started my first tech company.
Hold it there. You dropped your master's, right? Now tell me about, first of all, that idea must have been like super amazing for you. Like you had to, like, I want to really hone in on that because I want people to understand like how much confidence and just, there's so many emotions that go into that, right? To have the confidence in yourself or whatever, to be like, you know what? I'm not going to finish my master program. I have this idea and I think that it's going to work out more than anything. Mm-hmm. So what was that like? And then what was the feedback when you told some of your family and friends?
So I think I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? I didn't know I was going to be in tech. I just didn't know what it was going to be. So when I had the idea, the first thing I did was talk to my parents and my family. I was like, what do you guys think of this? Like, what? And they're all like, do it. Like, go for it. Like,
really? Okay.
They believed in it just like they saw the vision just like I did. So I didn't really have a lot of pushback, which I'm super, super grateful for that. So maybe that was even more ammunition to like, okay, I'm about to do this thing. And I think anything you do, you should do your all. Like, you should actually be so confident in it that you know it's going to work. Mm-hmm. So I had that innately in me and I just went full throttle with it.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm just thinking to myself, like, if I okay, so I got my bachelor's, my BA on communications, the mass media. And so I'm thinking to myself is I had this great idea that was so great that was gonna make me be like, you know what, I'm not gonna finish this or whatever, I'm gonna go do this, right? Mm-hmm. And I commend you. I really do, because that takes so much like courage and like you said, I guess it really does help having the family support and the friend support, right?
Yeah.
But even with that, like I just want people to really understand like what it takes to follow through with that. And
I think like you have to change your mindset on like what failing is, right? Like I think a lot of people think fail is like the most horrible thing, but you learn so much when you think you failed. And it's really not failing, it's learning lessons, right? So if this is not successful, then how do I pivot to something else, get what I learned from that and keep it going, So I think it's all a mindset.
I like your outlook on life. Like I really do. Okay, so you pivot and you have this brilliant idea. So then how do you go from idea to execution?
Okay. So it was me and Google and Yahoo all night long.
Really?
I didn't know anything. I didn't know anyone in tech. I didn't have any background in tech. So I was just figuring it out as I was going. So I was Googling everything, asking people like, what do they think? And then I hired a developer, a designer, and that's when I created my first prototype. Okay. So it was me, Google, a developer and designer, and we just created the first app.
That's insane, because like you don't even, like I'm thinking like, okay, she has this tech company, she was in Silicon Valley, you know what I mean? She was part of the tech boom and maybe she majored in tech or minored in tech, but to hear you say that, listen, I was completely an outsider in this field, right? I just had an idea, and I got all my information from Google and the internet, and I just, you know, believed in it so much, and I was asking people, like, that's like a Ruby story, but in the tech field. That's crazy. Like, that's an insane idea or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so tell me more. Sorry,
okay,
I don't want you to stop me or whatever, but in my head, I'm just blown right now or whatever, because like, you don't really hear that like every day, right? You don't hear people just be like, you know what, I had this idea and I just knew it was gonna work. And I just started looking up and just followed through with it. So, okay.
But you know what, I love the point that you made in terms of you don't see that every day. And I think it's good for other women of color, other women, or anyone to see, like, it doesn't matter if you think you fit the field, you can do whatever you put your mind to it. And other people need to see that so they can know they can start a company as well, you know?
Okay, so you hired, you said you hired a
developer.
A developer, okay, so now we have Motion.
We have the mock, right? We have the first app, of like the first version of it. So I launched it, I had a waiting list. So I created a waiting list so like people could get excited about our launch. We had, I think, like 1,000 people sign up for the launch, right? We launched, people were signing up. I was going to different like high schools, middle schools, getting them to download the app. So I was really like grassroots marketing.
You was grinding.
I was grinding the platform. And then bigger brands started reaching out and asked me can create them their own version for like events and brand activations. So I said, wait a second, this is a way for us to monetize the technology and work directly with brands. So we kind of pivoted, right? It's not a fail, it's a pivot, right?
It's a pivot, yeah.
And we started working directly with brands for like Formula One events, for different brand activations, getting people to creating videos around music. So like, what is the sound of your brand? And then how can we get your audience to like create content around that?
Okay. So, okay. This like I said, your whole journey is just inspiring to me. What has been the most challenging part of the beginning phases? So, like did you ever run into a roadblock that you were like, man, like I don't know exactly like how I'm gonna get around this part of the idea?
I knew I was always going to get around it. It was just like, when is it going to happen?
Okay, so it's time.
It's timing, right? But I think the main struggle I had when I first started was I didn't have a network of people to support, and especially when we really transitioned to B2B, business to business, it's all about who you know, right? And I didn't have a lot of people in the space because I was new. No one knew who I was.
You didn't come from tech. You didn't go to school for it, so you didn't build that like network. Usually in school, people build that network with friends, and they're all going into tech, maybe in different parts. But I
could call on them and be like, "Hey, I got this new thing. Can you guys use it?" I didn't have that, so that was kind of like the pain points I would say in the beginning of just people knowing who you are and building those relationships, you know?
Got it. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, okay, you built this company, and you have this great idea that even so much the businesses are reaching out. At what point did you start to realize, like, what was that like, that moment like when you start to realize that I've done it, like this is it, like I'm here now, you know? Or has it come yet? Or do you still feel like you're growing? Obviously you're growing, but do you still, I guess what I'm asking is, does it feel real to you yet, or are you still?
I think I'm always in grind mode in a sense.
Okay.
So I don't think I've ever like sat back and be like, dang, look at what I've built. Look what I've created. I think you're just like going and going until you hit like a big milestone that you want, you know? Okay. But yeah, I think I'm always just like still trucking along, you know?
I think that's just crazy to me that, you know, like I said, that again, for me, the biggest part of your story so far has just been the confidence, right? And even right now, like I said, you just have to come to like, listen, like failure is not an option. It's just a matter of like how long it's going to take. I really love that because in a sense, I identify with that a lot. And so to hear someone else, you know, talk about it and say it, it's almost like man, like I thought I was the only one who like really felt like that or whatever, you know? So something else I want to ask about the actual like technology part, right? Now, for the people out there who like aren't familiar with your product or even like memes and GIFs and stuff like that, what would you, like, how would you explain it to them? How would you describe it? Because we do have like some viewers a little bit older, so explain it to them as simple as possible, like what your company is and what your product does.
Okay, so my first company, I don't do it anymore, right? So during the pandemic, we had a pivot because brand activations were done everything was over, right?
Got it.
So we're like, hey, what can we do so that our brands, our partners can still create these cool experiences with their audience in a way that the pandemic doesn't affect it? So we create a SaaS platform called Vidlo, which allows brands to capture video testimonials and content from their customers so they can share it on their websites and social media. So a way for you to capture the content, showcase why your customers love you so much, and then also help you boost your sales through that way.
Okay. All right, so do you have partnerships with the social media things, or is it like with TikTok and?
Yeah, so in our platform, you're able to share it directly to TikTok.
Okay.
So after your audience, after your customers create a video saying, oh my gosh, I love his TV show so much, it's the most awesome thing ever, right? This is a testimonial, right?
Come on now.
After they do that, they can share it directly to TikTok, or you can share it on your website, on your TikTok, on your Instagram, however you want to showcase your customers and their love for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
What has been some of the feedback? Like, how has it been received from some of your clients?
They said it's super, so my goal was to make it super easy for people to capture testimonials. Because a lot of times what they do now is like, you'll ask someone, hey, can you send me a video of you saying how much you love my brand? They have to like record on their phone, then have to email it to you, all these steps, right? So I was like, how can we simplify this where it's just an app that you can just tap or scan a QR code. You can record the testimonial right then and there, and then you get the videos automatically. So there's no more going back and forth of asking them for a testimonial for your brand, you know?
Something that pops up, so I think to myself is like Fashion Nova stuff, right? Like there's all these influencers, and that's what I think in my head who probably would be able to use this a lot, because I'm constantly seeing them promoting like products, right?
Yeah.
And so being able to go through your app and then not have to sit there and edit the video like on a oh, I got to do this. But like you said, if you just have it on an app to where a lot of the legwork is already done for you, that
so just a link. So like it's if you're a brand, right, you're going to create a campaign on our platform, and it's going to generate a link or a QR code. So that's what you would send to your customers or your brand advocates, your content creators, and they just do it from their phone. They don't have to download an app or anything. They just literally tap a link. They can create the content and it just syncs to your dashboard on our app, on our platform.
I think that's amazing. I really do. I think that's awesome. Clearly, this has been thought out thoroughly. And okay, so tell me a little bit about, now you are, a Black-owned tech company. How has that been received, like in the industry? Because we always hear about we need more women in tech, right? So tell me a little bit about what it's like to be a woman in tech now.
You know what? I think that a lot of times I go to meetings. I'm literally maybe the only woman of color for sure, or sometimes the only woman because it's a male-led industry.
Yes.
But I don't think that. I don't think you could think about it in a negative way. It's just like you're in this space and now you're giving power to other people that look like you to be in that space. So I think that's how I take it on. And I think there's power in being different. They don't have my perspective. They don't have my network of like how you think about things. So I think if you're the only person in the room that looks like you, it's the power that you bring to that room that no one else has, So that's how I think about being a woman in tech, a Black woman in tech.
I like that. Like I said, I like your outlook on life in general and how you approach things. Like I said, it's a very like positive, strong positive like outlook that makes it hard for anyone to be negative, right? Like how can anyone say anything bad about like what you're doing and like how far you've come, right?
But thank you. I appreciate that.
like truly. And so, before we dive more into like your company and more about you, we're going to take a quick PSA break and we'll be right back after these messages.
Everyday amazing with Sky Alton.
I'm Sarah McMahon, and you're watching Everyday Amazing with Sky Alton.
Everyday amazing with Sky Alton.
Welcome back to the show. I'm still here with Chynna Morgan. So, man, like I said, your story is just so inspiring. It doesn't sound like you've had a lot of pushback, right? Like a lot of support, from your family and friends.
Yeah.
Something that I kind of want to ask you is if you can change things, right, and you can do anything differently from how you started, is there anything that you would do that you know now?
Oh, that's such a hard question because I always think everything happens for a reason, right? So I'm on this journey of how it happened for a reason. The only thing I probably would change is probably my connections in college, because I think that would have made it easier for me coming into this tech business world with just a network that I can really leverage. But other than that, I think you go through things how it should be. So I can't go back and be like, oh, I should have did this because I didn't. So it wasn't supposed to happen, you know?
I think that's a good way of looking at it. So with the connections part, how did you overcome that challenge of making those connections? Was there is there a specific path that one should take? Like if someone like you is looking at this interview and they have this idea and it's also like a tech idea, but like you, they didn't come from tech, and they're like, yeah, I'm having that same problem. Like I don't have the connections. Like how did you overcome it and build up on it?
So I was just putting myself out there, going to networking events. You can network online. There's Facebook groups with so pretty much find who your customer is, right? And then go to where they're at. So whether or not you're in marketing, go to marketing groups, connect with marketing people. Because a lot of people, they're open to, they want to learn what you want to do and how they can support you. There's a lot of people out there like that. So I think it's just finding those groups of people that you can connect with and leverage in that way. And not leverage in a way of using them, but building the connection where you guys can leverage on each other. How can I serve you? And then how can you also help amplify what I'm doing as well? But I think a lot of people take that piece as using. You don't want to be a user.
Right.
You don't want to come off as a user, but it's natural. When you build connections, it's a natural way you want to help the person, each other.
I like that. Something that stands out to me that I just got to know, what was your upbringing like? Because you have such a positive outlook on everything. And so I only can think that the support that must have had at home and maybe still have.
Yeah. I would have to say my parents, I think I always knew I could do anything I put my mind to, and there's really nothing I couldn't do. And I think I learned that from a really young age. And I just kind of took that on as I, became an adult. But I think it's just a mindset that I've always had as a young girl that my parents probably instilled, that
you can do anything.
I could do anything. There's nothing I cannot do. And I think I took that, to the T.
You definitely did. Like I said, to be, a few classes away from your master's and
3 classes.
3 classes away.
But you can always go back, right? I can always.
Would you ever go back?
Right now, I don't think I need to.
I don't
but
think
it's an option. It's an option, though.
Something else I kind of want to ask you, or I do want to ask you, is 10 years from now, where do you see Vidlo? As far as in the social media space, what role do you see it playing?
I still think Vidlo is going to be an easy way to capture testimonials from customers. And the only reason why I say that is because it's an easy way for you to just connect with your peers, right? When we think of social media, a lot of times we think of influencers and content creators,
right.
But we're not thinking of the everyday peer, the everyday customer, and those people are never going to change. So I think we're just going to kind of move with the times of how videos look, maybe of how people create videos. I think it will change in that way. But I think the core of what we do in terms of engaging with your customer, highlighting them, making them a part of your brand story, I don't think that would ever change in 10 years. I think it'll still be the core would still be the same, I would say.
I like that. So the core at the end of the day is still always going to be the consumers and the people who are consuming the content, right?
Yeah.
And highlighting them.
Yeah.
And I think, especially in the music industry, right? I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Right? Because we always hear about these big superstars, Taylor Swift, Nicki Minaj, right, and Beyonce, and they have these giant fan bases, right? Groups, the Beehive, the Swifties and stuff like that, right? And so now, with Vidlo, this is giving them, the power to actually connect and talk about, why
they love them so much.
And it's bringing people together and connecting people.
We work with music artists as well, because within our platform, they can create music campaigns. So say for if you're doing your music release party or you're on tour, your audience can create music around your videos around your music for them to share directly to TikTok. So there's so many ways you can leverage, video content from your audience, you know.
I like that. Any artists right now that you guys are working
I can't
with?
talk about the artists we're working with, but we have
Okay.
worked with a lot of upcoming artists. We did a music summit in, where did we do it? In Dallas?
Dallas, okay.
No, in Columbus, Georgia. We did a music summit out there.
Okay.
So each artist had like their own QR code with their picture on it, and fans were able to scan it and create video content around their music to share on social media. So that was a fun event for
I
sure.
think that's dope.
Yeah.
I find that's pretty amazing. You're a pretty amazing entrepreneur.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I want to do this thing where we have you pull a card, and
Okay.
it's gonna have a question, and I have no control over what the question is, but it's a fun little game that we like to play.
Okay.
So we'll have you
Pull a card.
Yeah, pull a card.
Okay, how do I open? Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. Which 3 words would you use to describe yourself? Think about this. So I would say, I love my family. Was that, what kind of, okay.
Was that the 3 words? I love my.
Oh, maybe that's, okay, let me start over. Okay. My 3 words would be ambitious, kind, and, a lover of life. It's hard to do 3 words. Hold on, let's see another one.
Yeah, we're gonna have you pull another one. Just
Okay, let's start. Listen, this is the hard one.
We've had someone else pull something similar, so we want you to be completely unique.
Okay,
so we'll have
okay.
You, we'll have you
I messed that one up. I'm sorry, guys.
No,
Let's see. Let's see. I can't get it. Let's see.
They make it. I'll make it difficult.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's see if I can do this one. Okay. If money were no object, what kind of birthday party would you have? Well, I would be somewhere on the island for like a whole month, just living it up on the island for my birthday.
You just be on the
With
island
my family, with my friends, and just for a whole month, just on the island, just.
A whole month.
A whole month.
So
we're taking the whole month. Money's not an option, so we're taking the whole month.
Which island? You have an island in mind? Or we're talking.
Somewhere in the Caribbean.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Okay.
Just
So
blue water, just
blue water everywhere.
sunset. You know.
I like it. I like it.
But that would be what I would do.
You know, I'll even indulge.
Okay.
You know, I'll grab one. I'm gonna shuffle it up a little bit, so then that way I don't get one that I already had. I'll try not to. Okay. What smell invokes the strongest memory?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's an interesting one. For me, I am going to say burnt broccoli.
What's the story? What's the story of burnt broccoli?
The story of burnt broccoli is, so there was a time when I was young and I lived with my grandmother.
Okay.
And she was making dinner and she left, we were steamed broccoli, steam it, and she left it on the stove.
Okay.
She went in her room and started watching a movie or something like that, and she forgot it
Okay.
on the stove.
Okay.
And I was in my room and I didn't notice, and I started to,
Smell.
Yeah, like, what the heck is that, right? And then I walked into like the living room and the whole thing is smoking, but the smoke alarms didn't go off yet, right? Which was crazy.
Okay.
Because you would think like any
It
little
would
bit of
come
smoke
off.
would-
Yeah.
And so the smoke alarms didn't go off, whatever. And I run in there and see like what's on the stove, and she's burning up the broccoli. And then I go in there and I'm like, hey, aren't you forgetting something? And then she was like, what? And I was like, you almost burned the house down. Left the thing on the top. She's like, oh, did I leave it? And I was like, did you leave it? Did you leave it? Like, no.
Come on, Grandma.
Yeah, exactly.
Grandma.
No, you didn't leave it. It's fine. I just, the smell. You don't smell that. And then she's like,
She's watching her show. She's in her
yeah,
show.
it was Game of Thrones.
Okay. See, listen, I understand.
Yeah. So, I know that's a very interesting story. But when I think of like strongest smell, burnt broccoli. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Once you smell it once, you'll never want to smell it again. Yeah. So.
That is funny.
But yeah, I think that's a very interesting question. We only have 3 minutes left of the show. So before I let you go, I just kind of want to thank you again, right? One, for coming on the show. But also just want to say, like, I think you're one of the people like you are why I created this show. In the sense of like, I know that there are amazing people out there, right? And I really want to highlight them. And I know that if I do, the stories that they tell and share will be able to motivate and inspire like other people.
Yeah.
And, you know, having someone so young, you know, start their own company, just really bet and believe in themselves. In essence, this is what Everyday Amazing is about. You know, it's about, you know, showing that, you know, anybody can do anything that they put their mind to. It's about highlighting young entrepreneurs. It's really about motivation. Yeah. Right? And, you know, your story is one of the most motivating stories I've had on the show.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
and I truly mean that, you know. And we have some very amazing people, and all of my guests are very great in their own way. But anytime I can get someone who really, you know, bets on themselves and really, you know, has the confidence to, you know, show like, hey, listen, I can do it. And the reason I did it is because I had an idea and I just followed through with it. And that's really in essence what I want people to take away. I want people out there to, you know that there's nothing that you can't do. You know, I knew that I wanted to be a late night talk host, you know, to host the show. And at the time there was nothing like that like out there. So I said, you know what? I'm not gonna wait for someone else to create it. I'm gonna create it, you know. And then I just followed through. So you couldn't tell me like otherwise, you know. Like I like no matter what, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And no matter where I end up, no matter where the show goes, I hope that in essence everyone takes away that I had this idea and I followed through with it. And if he can do it, so can I.
But there's so much power in that. Like bringing something to life and actually seeing it through, because a lot of people don't, you know? So you're the 1% of people that are like, I'm gonna do this, and you did it, and now you have your own show, you know?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And I wanna thank our audience out there. As always, I strive to bring you guys the most amazing people, not just from Sacramento, but from all over. And I wanna congratulate Miss Chynna Morgan again for, you know, everything she's accomplished. I want to thank my production team as always. They work so hard to, you know, bring this to life and bring you guys such captivating episodes. And before I let you guys go, I want to have Miss Chynna give out her social media and let people know where they can find her.
Yes. So you can follow me on LinkedIn at Chynna Morgan, or you can follow me on Instagram at Vidlo by GOL. That's where you can follow.
Okay. All right. You heard it here, folks. Until next time, I'll see you guys.
Everyday Amazing with Sky Alton. Everyday Amazing. Everyday Amazing with Sky Alton. Everyday Amazing. Everyday Amazing with Sky Alton.